send me over your slides so I can follow along?
Yeah, okay, give me a second. It's on the Google account.
Help me with your last name one more time. Chugh?
Chugh.
Chugh.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny. I just typed it phonetically and it came out just like your last name is spelled. So that's so that's on me. Okay.
No, like nobody gets it
right. I need. Can you enable the sharing? I can't download it.
Oh, I thought I did.
And you're missing the product mentor logo.
Okay, just taking out that. Oh, I need to add it on the master.
Oh, cool. You had it more accessible than I did. It was there. It just disappeared.
Yeah, no, I'm adding it to the master so it appears on all slides.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Let's see. Can I download it now? Oh. Can you update the sharing?
Sorry, one second. It still just appeared on one. I need to change it. I did. I made you edit. I think if you hit refresh.
I did. It still says. Oh, now it is. There it goes.
Okay, but I'm still changing the way you can download to follow.
No, I'll wait till you finish.
Yeah, I'm just.
And then we'll get going.
Okay, this is the master slide.
And we can see how many people show up today.
Okay.
If you're out there waiting for the live stream to start, we'll be starting in just a moment. All right. Where? Oh, there it is.
Okay, so I'm just shutting out the windows.
All right. You good to get started?
I need a minute to shut out the windows. I'm done. I'm good to go.
All right. Let me just make sure I'm good. I'm still going to mess up your name. I apologize. I know I'm going to mess it up when it's recording.
No worries.
Oh, that's weird. Why is it doing that? Hold on. YouTube started acting goofy. All right, we're good now. The video disappeared, but it's back. So
okay.
Just a moment. There it is. I want that. There. All right, now let's see. How do I will try to pin me. All right. I lost it. All right. It's Thursday. Oh my God. I feel like I'm doing I'm you guys on the How I PM videos. Wow. I've never had to do a retake of that. It's Thursday, September 12th. Now I'm going to start over.
Go for it.
I surrender. I surrender. It's Thursday, September 12th, 2019, and this is the Product Mentor Talk. Today, we're joined by one of our mentors, Shobhit Chugh, to lead a topic on how to stay productive and find time to do deep work as a product manager. So for those of you who might be joining us for the very first time today, let me briefly explain the format. People who you see speaking to us, our mentors, are in the Product Mentor program at theproductmentor.com. And we pair up mentors and mentees in the field of product management all around the world and help make better product people. And once in a while, hopefully that translates to their products as well. And we're in over 20 different countries all over the place. And who am I? I am the moderator today. So if questions do come in, I will interrupt Shobhit to pass along your questions in real time to get you some answers. But short of that, let me hand it over to him to take it away.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm Shobhit. I'm a product manager at Google. I also teach product managers at Intentional Product Manager. And with that, let's get into the topic of the day, which is how do you find time to do deep work and stay productive? And you'll probably see that this is one of the topics I'm really passionate about. And really, productivity is one of those things that I really geek out on. So I apologize in advance. Perfect. So when I ask product managers that, hey, how productive do you feel? And the common answers I get is maybe a little, but not enough. It's one of those things that we never seem to be really satisfied by. And I've been curious about why is that the case with all the tools at our disposal and the right intentions that all of these product managers bring. Why do they not feel productive? And for me, it really comes down to the job definition of a product manager. This is a model that I took from a class I took during business school, which is what are the roles of product manager? And there were three definitions. One was, or three aspects of the product management role. One is the general manager, where you're managing the product as a business, not just taking the angle of, hey, what are the features and functionalities, but taking a step back and thinking through what does it mean for the entire business? What are the right metrics to impact? The second is the voice of the customer, the one stakeholder that's not in the room, you're representing him or her. And then last but not least is the orchestrator, which is making sure that all the right things that need to happen to make the product successful, whether it's shipping features, getting the right marketing launch done, getting salespeople trained, all of that happens. Now, with these three aspects, what I find is that most people tend to, or most product managers tend to over-index on the orchestrator function, on the function of making sure there's alignment of that all the things are happening. But there's a cost to that. I believe that you need deep work time to be successful. You need to actually focus on these two other aspects that I mentioned to want to be really successful as a product manager. Before I go on, you might be asking, deep work? What is deep work? Deep work is one of those terms that have been popularized by Carl Newport. I might be butchering his name just a little bit, but I think I'm getting it right. He's a professor at MIT, and he wrote a book called Deep Work. And it's all about activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration so that you push your thinking to the limits. This is not very different than the concept of flow, which a lot of people are familiar with, which is you're finding the sweet spot between a sense of comfort where you are contributing and making progress, and a sense of discomfort where you're just right at the limits where you're challenging yourself to get to the next level. Now, the places where deep work is really applicable are these, and these map to the other two aspects of product management. So things like product strategy, expressing and clarifying the vision and repeating it in a way that it makes sense to the team where they get it. Processing and acting on user feedback, which is not just interviewing users, but then taking a step back from all the customer research you've done and now trying to synthesize that into themes. Users don't tell us what products to build. We understand it based on their input, and then we make the final decisions. So you need deep work time to actually process and act on user feedback. Thinking deeply about upcoming work. This might be around, if you're just writing user stories, for example, have you really clarified and added meanings to them? And then last but not least, even preparing for meetings. I mean, who here loves meetings? Whenever I ask that question, there's never like, oh yeah, I love meetings. And I think that's because we haven't spent the time to prepare for them in a way such that that experience would be great. So I hope I made the case for why you do need deep work time to be successful as a product manager. Now let's move on to how you find, like the main topic of the talk, how do you find time to be productive and make time for this deep work? So I think you need to do three things to be successful in this. Number one, you need to reduce the time you spend as an orchestrator. Number two, you need to persuade your organization why the other parts are crucial, why you're acting like a general manager for a product and the voice of the customer is crucial. And then you need to reconfigure your schedule to enable that deep work. And you might notice that I put this like in this particular order. That's very intentional. So I'll talk through why this is the sequence of activities I believe you must follow. So let's talk about the orchestrator role and how do you reduce time spent there. So first of all, if I asked you a question today, why do you spend so much time as an orchestrator? Why do product managers in general spend so much time acting as project managers rather than product managers? I've asked this question several times, and the underlying theme I get are sort of these two. So first of all, the project management activities give you an immediate result, right? You coordinated when the release was going on, the release will go on time. You made sure marketing was doing the right launch at the right time, it happens right away. There's an immediate return on your investment of time as an orchestrator. But the other aspect is that you actually lack clarity on your role and your goals as a product manager, especially when it comes to what does it really mean to act as the voice of the customer? What does it really mean to act like a general manager? People haven't spent enough time clarifying what those mean for you in your current job. So how do you reduce this orchestrated time? I think there's two key things you need to do. One is you need to actually clarify what your goals are as a product manager. What are the big initiatives you're going to drive forward that don't exclusively depend on you being an orchestrator? Put another way, this question is, if you were not here today and you just left the team to execute themselves, what are the things that would not get done? How would the things be different 6 months from now? That's the view you need to take, with you having done those activities versus not having done those activities. And the second tool that I'm going to talk about is a calendar audit. So let's talk through those tools. For me, I work at Google, and one of the things Google is famous for, other than search, is OKRs. Everybody sort of associates Google with OKRs. For me, it's a really good way of looking at it. But I want to change the angle a bit and think about it from a perspective of personal OKRs. So, what are the initiatives you are driving that you think are really moving the needle for your product? These could be initiatives around product strategy. These could be initiatives around making sure you get regular user input. What typically I like to do is I like to think of it in terms of this grid, and I'll explain what it is. Now, these are obviously made up. These are Star Wars inspired. So I hope nobody has these as actual OKRs, but hey, who am I to make that decision? So on the right, on this right quadrant, right top quadrant, what I put is like, what are my objectives? So if I put like, an objective is typically something that you don't expect to hit either this quarter or this month. It's just something that you aspire for. So for example, you might aspire for making sure there's clear strategy for your product if you look over the next 5 years. That's your objective. You're not going to achieve it next quarter, but then your KR, if you're setting this at the quarterly level, should be what are things you actually hope to achieve in that. So that starts to break down your goals into measurable key results. Now, when I typically, that's how I set my OKRs for a quarter. And I really try to think through how do I drive clarity into my goals as a product manager here, my personal contributions as a product manager versus the team's goals. So this is all about personal goals. On my left is what I track are my P0, P1, and P2 initiatives. These are things that I'm planning to do this week related to these objectives. And and P0 is what I consider a must do. P1 is what I consider a should do, and P2 is could do. Very simply, if I ended the week and any of my P0s are not done, I'll be really disappointed. The should do's also, I should try to do all of them. And if I get bonus time, that's when I want to do the could do's. There's a very important reason why you must prioritize them and put them in these categories is because human tendency is to go and do the easiest things first, right? And what we are trying to make sure you do the important things first. So do not begin on your P2s until you've done your P0s. On the lower left quadrant, it's just like my next 4 pipeline, like things I think are coming up, so I should note it so that next time I plan, I do my weekly plan, I do that. And then on the bottom right quadrant, it's just my health metrics, which is like, hey, while doing all this awesome work as a product manager, is my health falling off a track? I've done no exercise. Am I networking? I'm like growing in my career and learning from other people. How's my leadership? Like whatever things you just want to make sure help you stay a balanced life. That's what I track in my health metrics. So this is a tool that I typically advocate for making sure you get your goals clear. What are you trying to move forward as a product manager and not as a project manager? That was one. The other one is called calendar audit. So calendar audit, simply put, is taking a look at your calendar, and I typically try to do it quarterly, reflecting back a week and saying, how aligned is my calendar to the objectives that I set for myself? So if I have those 2 objectives, how much time did I actually spend on them? And what I find typically happens for me and for other PMs who I work with is, commitments pile up, obligations to other people pile up. And those are sometimes not aligned with, it's like your inbox, right? Your inbox is basically a ordered list of other people's priorities. And your calendar could become the same if all you're doing is accepting any invites you get. So once a quarter, I look at my calendar, I say, okay, how much time am I spending as far as my objectives is concerned. And I ask these questions. These are questions you might ask yourself to go deeper into this analysis. What are the 20% of your activities that cause you to spend 80% of your time and are not useful? Are you going to too many cross-functional meetings where you're just sitting and hanging out and not contributing much? Have you committed to something that you now wish you had not committed? Second is like, are you being a perfectionist in some areas? In a previous role, we had about 386 Jira tickets. And I made sure I had a perfectly groomed backlog, 1 to 386. And at some point I was like, does it really matter what is there after story number 20? Do I need to spend all this time? So where is it you're trying to over-optimize something that doesn't give you results? And then the third one is like activities, like, maybe you are part of like some working groups where you kind of need it, but most of the time not really. And can you start declining some of those? The thing that really changed my schedule quite a bit early this year was this statement that somebody told me. It was like, you can be 40% more productive by just dropping 40% of things off your schedule. And it's just, the list goes on. You might be going to company all hands and no objections if you are, but sometimes you don't. Any meeting where you can ask someone what happened and they can give you an answer in 2 minutes, don't go there. I'm really challenging you with the calendar audit to look at your calendar and then make a decision on what are things you need to drop off so that you can focus more on your objectives. And then you measure how much of your time you spend towards your objectives. Excellent. One last thing on this topic. One of the reasons why a lot of people fail in this part of the exercise, removing things that don't move the needle, reducing the time spent as an orchestrator, is that it's uncomfortable because you have to say no to people. And if you're like most product managers, we love to make other people happy. Like, we love to make our users happy. That's why we're product managers in the first place, right? But sometimes you got to make some people not happy for the short term to achieve long-term success. That's what I want to challenge you, is like, start to step into the zone of where you might be uncomfortable at first and not try to make everyone happy. Okay, so that was the first thing, reducing time you spent as an orchestrator. We actually spent a fair amount of time on that. The next two sections are quicker. So persuading your organization why these other parts are crucial and why you must spend time on strategy. How do you go do that? I'm going to skip the slide. It's a well-made joke. What I'm like, the basic formula here is show them the win and then tell them how much time and effort it takes. So a lot of people try to convince the organization that, look, I really need time to go build out the strategy because it will be useful for all these purposes, or really need time to go do this. And what I'm telling you is you need to do the reverse. You need to go deliver something that's so outstanding, so inspiring that they're like, wow, I wish you did more of that. And then you ask for the time. You're like, look, if I need to do that, I can't be spending all this time here and here and here, and you need to take on this and you need to take on this. I did this with one of the teams. I built a very strong vision where they were like so excited by it. And then I started to ask for that time back. I'm like, look, I want to pursue this thread more. I want to talk to these customers, but I can't be making these meetings. I need some more time. And that's how I persuaded them. So you have to sort of go above and beyond, show them a win, and then tell them how much time and effort it took you, and actually get that on your regular working schedule. And trust, and I believe you can do it. I definitely believe you can do it. And then the last thing you must do is reconfigure your schedule to enable deep work. So There is one of the most impactful articles I've ever read is one called by Paul Graham called Maker's Schedule, Manager's Schedule. And the core thesis of this article is that managers live in 30-minute increments. They can go from meeting to meeting. They are coordinating things, no problem. A maker, like, for example, an engineer, needs uninterrupted time to go deep into work. Paul says, for someone on maker schedule, having a meeting is like throwing an exception. It doesn't cost you to switch from one task to another. It changes the mode in which you're working. So there's a deep work mode that you get into when you spend focused time on something. What I'm here to say is that as a product manager, you are half maker and half manager. That's a mental shift you need to have. And so you should reconfigure your schedule to be half maker and half manager. This is, and I said half and half. Mine is not half yet, but this is my current schedule. Mondays are kickoffs. It's a complete manager schedule. I also try to do my one-on-ones on that day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings are my maker time, completely blocked off, not spending them on any meetings, focusing, getting work done. Afternoons are manager schedule. And then Fridays, again, we're wrapping up the week. It's mostly a manager schedule, though I do tend to find some time Friday mornings to also be a maker. You can't have like an hour in Tuesday as a maker, then 1 hour as manager, 1 hour as maker, 1 hour as manager. It just does not work. You cannot get deep work done. So you must make these uninterrupted times work for you, even if you need to challenge the teams that you work with. And actually, you know what? I would say they would appreciate it, because by making this time for you as a maker, you're also making this time for your engineers as makers. They'll get more productive, and they tend to definitely appreciate this. And then the other thing I think you must do if you want to be this productive is don't come into this maker time and then be like, hey, what am I going to work on right now? Know it beforehand. Back to Carl Newport and the book he wrote on deep work, you should have your schedule planned before you get into work, exactly what you're going to do every hour. So you're not making decisions on what you're doing. And because when you make decisions in the moment, you'll do the easiest tasks first. You won't do the ones that you actually set out to do. You won't do the strategy work that requires deep thinking and requires to go beyond your maybe current expertise in strategy. Now, there's also a recognition that we're product managers and things blow up all the time. Bugs come and we need to react. And that's why this thing is written in pencil. So when things blow up, you can change things around and just reconfigure. But hopefully that's not an everyday occurrence. And then last but not least, you must make time for rejuvenation breaks. When I work with other product managers, this is the most challenging thing. I challenge them to find 5 minutes during the course of the day, 2 blocks of 5 minutes to take rejuvenation breaks. And the answers I get are, nah, don't have 5 minutes. What are you talking about? These 5 minutes will give you 2 hours back. So I go read a book for 5 minutes and I'm like, whoa, I'm excited. I do breath scaling, which is an exercise, and I'm rejuvenated. I journal for 5 minutes and I'm rejuvenated. I can get work done so much faster. So you have to, similar to the earlier theme I expressed, you've got to make time somehow, see the results, and then you can convince yourself to make this time on an ongoing basis. And that was it. Those were the 3 things. You must reduce time as an orchestrator. You must persuade your organization to make to give you time to work as a general manager and a voice as a customer. And then you must reconfigure your schedule to allow you to do deep work. Any questions?
No, we didn't have any questions. I want to take a moment, just thank our speaker, Shobhit Chugh, for today's discussion on being productive as a product manager. I would say it's a very mindful approach to product management. Very cool talk. There's a lot of great tips in here. So if you're watching this, you should definitely be applying a lot of what Shobhit's talking about here today. And as always, the presentation will be posted to our SlideShare channel. And a big thank you from me, Jeremy Horn, aka the Product Guy, your moderator here today, and everyone else who joined us today in the Product Mentor. And also, if you're interested in being a mentor, like today's speaker, Shobhit, to product people of all sorts, all around the world, please go to theproductmentor.com. Sign up today. And also, if you're looking to fill a new product job with a great product person, visit our very own free-for-all job board at theproductjobs.com. And with that said, goodbye.
Bye.
All right, we're good.
Awesome.
It always freaks me out with the Zoom controls when there's only 2 people because I can't control the camera. I just have to like cross my fingers. The camera's pointing at the right person.
Yeah. It still shows live on mine?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's live. I actually made this one public. I said, let's go for it. Let's see it. I wanted to do a test. I wanted to do a test kind of during the day to see who might show up or not show up during the day. Apparently, they're at work.
Who knew?
But this is great. You actually had some interesting things. I was actually taking a few notes. I like the way you communicated certain concepts. And also, I am serious. There's a mindfulness angle in here to kind of maybe develop a little further too.
Yeah,
be a very hip thing at this point in time. But yeah, I got a mindfulness vibe from you.
Yeah,
during certain parts. But cool, awesome. You're all set. We're all good. How's it going with the mentee? Hold on, let me just kill the live stream.